Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you some cool DMs I sent back when I first started looking for film scoring gigs. We're gonna work our way down from 2023 all the way to 2021, which is when I first started my journey getting paid work as a composer. So here we are in 2023. I found this film on Indiegogo and I really loved the background of the filmmaker, and I could relate a lot to the story he was trying to tell. So back in February of 2023, last year, I said hi. I said I just wanted to say I really look forward to your documentary. And then I expressed my interest, which was how much I had in common with it. So I said, I actually have a cousin who is in the same place that he lives. I was like, I think my cousin would really love this. I see my family in this movie, basically. And then he responded the next day and was like, oh, thank you. That's so sweet. I'm so excited to share with everyone. Glad people resonate with it. So at this point, I am like dying to compose on this film, but I don't say anything about being a composer. And I think after this message, I decided to follow him because I noticed we had a mutual contact. We had someone that I was following that also followed him. So I was like, oh, we have like a connection here. So hit follow. And then a couple days later, he posted something on his story about the film. And I said, are you gonna be editing the doc too? And he's like, yeah, but we're doing a rough cut and I'm gonna give it to someone else. And I was like, okay, cool. At the time, I was watching a documentary, and so I was trying to like have a little conversation about that. And then he said something and I didn't know what to say. So I was just like, oh, okay. So a couple of days, I think, passed, or like a whole month or something. And he posts again something on his story. I congratulate him. He says, thank you. At this point, still haven't said I'm a film composer, but we're following each other and he knows that I'm a film composer. I'm showing him I'm a composer. I do these things. I'm very passionate. I don't need to tell you what I do. I'm just going to show it to you. So at this point, he's learning about me, but I have no idea. I'm just going about my day, doing my things, posting, and trying to have little conversations here and there. The next month, he posts something on his story and I tell him that I tried to share his campaign with local organizations where I live in San Diego, and I said hope some support comes from it. He said thank you, and then 2 months pass. Again, he posts something on his story about the film and I think it looks great. He got like his first cut and we're starting to see what the film really feels like. And he thanks me, and then he says, I am so impressed with all of your art and work, would love to meet with you, please let me know if you're available, blah blah blah. He is getting ready to potentially hire me, which he did. If you've watched my other videos, you know exactly what project this is at this point, but this was my first feature film, and this was also his first feature film. And at this point, we both feel really good about this project. I got hired, I did the project, it was amazing, and we're both super happy with how it came out. This took 4 months of me just kind of forgetting how badly I wanted this project. Looking back, I think what really worked about this cold DM was, one, I had amassed such a large amount of content. I think I had like 200 or 100 something posts on Instagram at this time. And so I think I had a lot of credibility around me. This was not my first gig, but this was my first feature film. Another thing was that we had someone in common and there was proof of that. So when he hit follow on my account, he saw that we had that person in common. So I think that really helped. And then the fact that we both took the time to just kind of like feel each other out and send these messages over the course of 4 months probably really helped him feel really comfortable, because he got a sense of what I was about. Like for 4 months, he was just kind of probably just watching me post things, talk about my work, and he was like, okay, this girl is cool. She knows what she's doing. I think this would be a good idea. So the whole takeaway from this cold DM sequence, I think, would be to, one, make sure that you are able to show what you're about and who you are rather than tell it to someone. I don't think cold DMs are about convincing people to work with you. I think it's just about starting a relationship and just being open to where it goes. Like in this example, I really had no idea that this was going to lead to work, and I was genuinely surprised when he said, I would love to work with you, blah, blah, blah. So I think lowering your expectations and just being open to like wherever the conversation goes and trusting that the director's going to make the best decision on their own is really, really effective. I was definitely talking to other filmmakers too, but this was the one that I was like, oh my gosh, if I get this, I will be so happy. Bada bing, bada boom, we got it. Let's move on to the next filmmaker. So this is 2022, going back in time here. I did the same thing. I found this filmmaker on Indiegogo, and I told them that I was excited about their film and that it was relatable to me. I'm Filipino American, so it was like the perfect fit in that sense. And then I just said I was hoping I could contribute by composing an original film score, blah, blah, blah. And then they responded with this lovely, really chunky text. They were like, oh my goodness, thank you, it means so much. It's a very important project to me. They mentioned they do have a music composer, but it was more of a songwriter rather than a film composer. So they told me what they were missing and that they are open to me joining their team. So they're like, I'll check back in with you. Like, I looked on your account and your work sounds absolutely amazing. So again, I'm showing them, not telling them. And then I respond very similar little message, lots of emojis. At this point, things are going in the direction that I want them to. But what I want to point out is how our messages are matching in terms of like density and also punctuation. So this is something called mirroring. Like if you're from a biology background or a science background like me, you've probably heard of these things called mirror neurons, where like you are watching someone else do something and in your brain, your mirror neurons are also kind of like activating in the same way that it's activating that person doing that thing. So when I read her message, my brain, I think, on a subconscious level, was probably like, she's very excited. Like her personality that I, like the vibes that I got from this message was like, oh, she's a very enthusiastic, positive person. Like she puts 2 exclamation points at the end of some of her sentences, and that did not go unnoticed to me. And there's a lot of exclamation points actually. So I was like, okay, I'm feeling excited, she's feeling excited. Let me convey that same energy and mirror that energy back to her. I did the same thing. More exclamation points. I also used the same emoji as her. And I don't want you to get the idea that like we are manipulating someone or that we are tricking them into liking us. Like, no. This is like the same idea, I think, as like when you're approaching a stranger and you see that they're waving at you. Like the right thing to do is wave back, right? It's part of being a human. That's what I did. And let me show you the rest of the messages. Again, more emojis, more exclamation points, lots of excitement. We started to bond over things we had in common. We talked about where she came from and how I also had that in common. I was like, hey, like I grew up near that area too. We bonded more and more, and then I got hired onto the project. It went really well. It was a great fit, and we were all really happy. That's example number 2. The takeaway from this one would be to pay attention to how the filmmaker is expressing themselves to you. And of course, like if it makes sense to do so, and that is also, you know, the way that you express yourself too, like go ahead and communicate that back. Even if it's just like the way they use exclamation points and you can tell that they are excited, like go ahead and put 2 exclamation points. Like it's not manipulating if you do 2 exclamation points. Paying that much attention to the way a filmmaker expresses themselves is going to be what gets you the gig versus not. But I do think it's worth noting how someone expresses themselves to you, and just be mindful of that. Because if I sent this really big text message DM and they sent something really short and there were like lots of periods, I'd be like, ooh, this feels a little different from what I just sent you. It's like waving, like, hey, and then they're like, so just keep that in mind and try and in your mind translate this to how you would talk with someone in real life, just like using the waving the hand example I gave. So yeah, this was example number 2. Let's move on to one of my first ones, 2021. So this particular filmmaker, the cold DM that I sent though was like super cringy. I'm so grateful that like things turned out the way that they did, because I was not great at reaching out to people back then. So I said, hi, just found out about your film again through Indiegogo, and I said I was wondering if you guys need a film composer. And then this was me learning how to connect with people over something we had in common. I was like, oh, I've never seen like this kind of filmmaker before, which is talking about something I have in common with them. And I said, had to see what was up. No, Cheska, what? See, I'm trying to make the cold DM not feel so cold by being very warm, but this just like was not my personality, and I was just trying to be cool because I thought they were cool. So I was being very dorky. Like, that's totally fine. That's in my personality. So I tried to mention a couple things that stood out to me about their film and that I could relate to. I grew up playing basketball, so I said that. And then they responded, hey, sorry, been super busy. I'm getting back to you just now. Thank you so much for interest. So at this point, it feels like he's been going through the motions, and he says they've had a couple people reach out already. So I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna choose me. And at this point, I don't have a lot of experience. So thankfully, he says, I'd love to chat with you sometime and talk more. And from there, we basically set up a Zoom meeting, and that's where the chemistry really clicks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like we should work together. And at the time, this message just really didn't communicate that same compatibility. In the previous example, that was a year later. Like, I had gotten better about approaching people in a very natural way, but this was like one of my first attempts, and thankfully it worked out. And that is pretty much the cold DMs that I want to show you. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Oh, I've been looking in the wrong spot the whole time. I thought the camera was right there, but it's actually right there. I'm so sorry. Okay, bye!